Okay, let's start from the beginning. Let's open Wikipedia, okay? I like to open Wikipedia because that's how I do my research. I check two places. One is called Aspaklaria. You can see over here. It tells you all the compendium of Jewish thought, okay? And then you pick a name and then you do that. So over here, Rabbi Tarfon, we'll see that there's many interesting things that happened to Rabbi Tarfon. But before we do that, we'll get back to the generation. Rabbi Tarfon was in a very, very good era of the Jewish people, and also in a very sad era and bad for the Jewish people. He was in both. He was a Kohen. He used to receive money from people in order to get Pidyon Haben, in order to take his sons out. What does Tarfon mean? In Greek, it says Tarfon. I have no idea what that means, but it's probably a Greek explanation. It comes. It's not like a Jewish source. He was a member of the third generation of Missionary age in the Second Temple, as we said, 78 AD to 135 AD. And Beitar, remember, is with Rabbi Akiva. Rabbi Akiva was his friend. Okay, maybe even younger. Maybe he was older than Rabbi Akiva. But he was an independent rabbi, and that's what I love about Rabbi Tarfon. He said whatever he thought. He was the school of Shammai. Okay, let's get that straight. He was in the school of Shammai against Bet Hillel. And many times he didn't do like Bet Hillel. So one time there's a story that he was traveling, and it was a dangerous place. And he had to stand to say Mariv and say Shema, and had to stand up in the middle of the night. He said to them, listen, Bet Hillel said you can sit down. It's a place, a dangerous place. No, I want to do the Shema. And in the end, it was a miracle that nothing happened. The bandits didn't find him. He says, because you're a Rabbi Tarfon, you had a miracle. But if not, Rabbi Shammai, you will be catched and you're not listening to me. But Hillel says you have to keep it low. And I think, Lionel, you can resent to that. You know, when we're not living in our country, you got to keep it low. We're not shouters. We're not saying, oh, we are the provocation. And that's what Bet Hillel, but Rabbi Tarfon wasn't like that. So on one hand, Rabbi Tarfon was very, I would say, straightforward, very, and he did what he thought is right, but there was halacha, let's say, with a woman, and he said, yes, you can do it. He gave a ruling against the other rabbis in his generation. He was free to do that. He also, you remember, it says in the ethics of the father, it says, what is better, the action or the learning? Right? What is better? So it says over there that the action, who said that? Rabbi Tarfon. Rabbi Akiva said, no, also you need to learn. But the action, you need to do with your hands. That is Rabbi Tarfon. So you understand where he's going. He's he was very rich, by the way. He was very rich. It says that he didn't have, he didn't give matanot levonim. Rich man said, this guy's a billionaire. He's not giving nothing. Rabbi Tarfon, how can he say about Rabbi Tarfon? He's the head of a big rabbi. What are you talking about? He met Rabbi Akiva, his friend. Rabbi Akiva says, Rabbi Tarfon, you're rich man. You want me to take for you a few cities and you can take care of the poor people of these few cities. And not families, not places, cities. One or two. So yes, straight away he gave him 4,000 dinari of gold, and Rabbi Akiva gave it. What's the message over here? He says, after a few days, Rabbi Tarfon came over to Rabbi Akiva and says, Rabbi Akiva, by the way, this is Masechet Kala, chapter 2. The Masechet called, the tract called Kala, Chaf Lamed Hey, chapter 2. This is Rabbi Tarfon. So they came to him and he said to Rabbi Akiva, where are the cities that I gave you? What did you do with it? Rabbi Akiva pulled him to the Bet HaMidrash. Ian, are you hearing? Do you hear me?
I heard every word.
Very good. He pulled him to the Bet HaMidrash. What? He pulled him to the Bet HaMidrash. He opened up the Tehillim, the Psalms, and he put it in front of them and he said, listen, you were reading until he came to the verse, like extravagant towards giving to the poor, like overdue giving to the poor, and say, this is the city that I put in you, and he points towards the Psalms in the verse. Rabbi Tarfon stood up and kissed Rabbi Akiva and says, thank you, Rabbi, you are my rabbi, Alufai, Rabbi b'chokhmah, my rabbi and my wisdom, Alufi, the chief of derech eretz, of way of life, and he gave him much more money to spend. Wow. That is a story. That is definitely a story. What type of person he was? So he was rich. He gave to the poor. He taught Torah. He was in the Shammai school. Okay, it says that the mother, and he had Lionel, you're gonna like this. It says that Rabbi Tarfon had respect to his elders. Does anyone know the story about Rabbi Tarfon in respect to the elders? What's the story with Rabbi Tarfon in respect to the elders? You're on mute.
I don't know. I don't know.
There's two like it, not just Rabbi Tarfon. I think another one's Rabbi Lezo. I forgot. It says that the mother Rabbi Tarfon, she used to go and take a walk in the garden of the house on Shabbat. Came fast, Rabbi Tarfon put his two hands under the legs, and she was going on the legs instead of the outside stones or whatever. He went on the hands until she came to the bed. It says one time he was sick.
You keep going on.
Tarfon. Amalem, she told them, pray for Rabbi Tarfon. Please pray. My son, he is the one that gives me kavod, gives me honor much more than it's needed. They said to her, what does he do? But not and she said the case, and they said to him, even if you'll do like that 10,000 more, it's not even half of what the Torah said.
I'm afraid yours. I don't know how.
Says that am I cutting off?
Yes. You're frozen. You're freezing all the time. Not getting the words.
What's happening?
Rabbi's frozen.
What are you trying?
Oh.
I'm sorry, Lionel. We just got
I can hear your voice. I don't know what's happening. Can anybody hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
The rabbi seems to have disappeared. I'm interested why you didn't like Valley of Tears, though.
How much have you seen of it?
I'm up to episode 6.
Oh.
I'm loving it. I think the scenes, the scenes are great.
Oh, they're horrendous. No, it's that young fellow with a blinking hamster. It's just so far-fetched.
It isn't far. When you act, I don't know how many episodes you've seen, but he's Aspergic and
Okay, I'm
he's
back.
completely Aspergic or almost autistic.
Oh,
He's brilliant, and I think it's not too far-fetched. How many episodes have you seen of it?
4.
4.
Well, I think if you take him, yes, I thought exactly the same as you, but as the more you see of him, and he plays a big part, the more that you can reconcile his genius with his autism. And he's only there because of his recall of facts. But he's not a soldier.
No. I'm surprised he's in the normal army.
He wasn't in the normal army. He was a civilian, really.
Oh.
He's a civilian kid who was brought.
But they say him put your uniform on.
Yeah, they've had a uniform on him, but he was.
Rabbi, yes.
I'm
Okay,
back.
fine.
I'm sorry about the delay. You hear me now?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, perfect. I'm very sorry. Okay, now let's get back to Rabbi Tarfon, okay? Because again, I want to know about him more. I want to know who he was, what type of person he was, and what kind of changes he made to society, which I think it's important. So we gave a few stories to tell about its character. Now, I wanted to give you a little bit about, how he was in innovation, like new things, okay? New ideas that he brought inside. So let me read you 1 second. Rabbi Tarfon didn't come to yeshiva one day. So in Shachris, and I was a kid too, in Shachris, the next day, Rabbi Gamliel saw him and says, "Tell me, why didn't you come yesterday to yeshiva, to the base medrash?" He said, "I'm sorry, I worked my work." I work? Listen this. I work. He said, "Oh, what are you saying to me, Rabbi Gamliel? It's so bizarre. Who said you need to work to these days?" Man, what kind of question? He said the guy's saying he doesn't money, he needs to work. Rabbi Gamliel says, we need to work these days. 1 second, we're talking about not for money. We're talking about
working on the mission, working
as
on
a Kohen, as a priest.
Oh, I see.
As a priest. Amalo.
This was after the temple period.
No, this is the time of the temple.
Was it?
It says that if you give a present, you want to give any present to the temple. Anyone can give a present, but he has to be from the Jewish people. And depending, Azak have to get closer inside. Only the Kohanim can go inside, and only they can eat from Teruma. Okay, that's what he said. So he's basically saying, I was there, and I can tell you that how do you say it? That was my experience in the temple, and he basically was one of the people that transist. Now, why is it so important? How hard it is, and I'll give an example of the Holocaust because I think is the best example. Holocaust Learning UK, gives an insight about live and gives an insight about education as material. Live is always better, and that's what Rabbi Tarfon represents. Rabbi Tarfon and Rabbi Akiva also, and Hillel and Shah was before, but Rabbi Akiva Tarfon, and then you had Rabbi Meir is much after that. Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai, that area of that generation lived in both generations, within the temple and without. Why is it so important? Ian, why is it so important to have that as a human continuation?
I don't understand your question.
Why is it? What's so important about Rabbi Tarfon that he was in a critical time of the transition between the temple and not the temple? So basically the destruction of the temple, but keeping the Jewish people pumped up and keeping the Torah alive and saying, no, it didn't die. It's still here. Within the trouble, we still believe. The cracks in the society. That's when it started. By the way, the Christianity, Rabbi Tarfon, I think he was in the same yeshiva, if I'm not mistaken. One of the Rabbi Eliezer ben Hurkanus, that was his rabbi, was also that person's thing. Let me check it out. It also could be, but again, that's the same time. He was against heresy.
time ever for Jews, the adjustment between pre and post.
Exactly. Where is it? Look at quotes. Okay, the door is short and the labor is plenty. The labor is salty while the reward is great, and the master of the house is pressing. Wow, that's Rabbi Tarfon. You're not obligated to complete the work, but neither are you free to desist from it. That's Rabbi Tarfon. He made a new law for the exile. We're still in the exile. He was there. He knows. He says you got to be integrated. And why do I like it? Every time I see in science growing and talking about evolution, these are the what we're talking. That's what we're talking about in 2021. Rabbi Tarfon guided us the moment we came out to exile. If you have learned much Torah, great shall be your reward, or he who hires you will surely repay you for the toil. Yet, the crucial of the pious is in the future. The crucial, the QTL, I don't know what that is. Okay. No man dies except through idleness. Okay. Oh, this is important, and I think it's connected a little bit. Let me hint a little bit to the Sunday event. Rabbi Tarfon, as quoted in Tosefta and Talmud, swore that he would burn scrolls, either Gilyonim type of scrolls or even Torah scrolls that came into the possession, which were written by heretical scribe, Jew or non-Jew, even in the name of God according to them. This is the strictest opinion given in the passage. Rabbi Yossi said to cut out and bury the names of God while burning the rest of the scroll, while the initial anonymous opinion says that such texts may not be saved from fire on Shabbat. Wow, you can let it burn. In general, no, okay? On Shabbat, while saying nothing about burning, in general, scholars debate whether the word heretics here refers to the Jews in general, or in particular group of them, for example, Jews Christians. Debate or whatever. Okay, that's already their opinion. Wikipedia. We don't listen to anything Wikipedia, but just to tell you, where does it come from? Why is it so important? Because I'm Rabbi Tarfon. I'm going into exile. What's going to keep me strong is the pride that I belong to a nation. I belong to a collective of people that are geniuses, that are dedicating their life to change their behavior, that are dedicating life to education and to growth, and that have love, and that have spiritual, and have tradition, and have family. Rabbi Tarfon wants them to have a pleasant journey, and we're at the end of the journey. 2,000 years later, we're at the end of the journey. Now think about it. He gave us one message that talks about today, not one. He gave us plenty that it's still accurate today. And every time I prepare my shiur, every time I think about the next person I'm talking about, I find out that the world was dependent on him throughout the history. Without him, the chain wouldn't continue.
Tarfon.
Rabbi Tarfon. Rabbi Tarfon was an individual, independent thinker. He wasn't in the school of Hillel that the halacha went like them. He was a Shammai, but a weird Shammai that had his own kvetch, that had his own opinion. We say, as I said, example. The question is, do I work or do I learn? A famous question. Rabbi Tarfon said, Ma'aseh, you have to do. Rabbi Akiva, you have to learn. Okay, halacha is you have to learn. But really, Rabbi Tarfon said what? You have to act. He was there for every Jew. That's Rabbi Tarfon. What do you say, Lionel?
Well, I don't know much about his. Okay, fine. Well, we have this principle that, especially in teaching children, that it is you teach them first the practice of Torah, and then you teach them the theory. In other words, the theory doesn't come first, and the practice is that. I think that's presumably what he's saying, is he? That performing mitzvot is you do before you
exactly
learn.
Of course, you need to prepare yourself. With all the respect, Lionel, you could call me tomorrow and says, "Oh, my 90th birthday, I feel I'm prepared to start doing mitzvot. You can tell me that, but the Rabbi Tarfon says, wait, it was 90 years you didn't do because you're preparing. Okay, let's start doing from the beginning. That's what Rabbi Tarfon says.
Yeah, well, was he actually saying that that performing the mitzvot has priority almost over learning why you're doing it?
He gave an explanation. Exactly. He gave a reason. The same time when he said that you gotta don't destroy the world and you gotta do a little bit by your thing, he gave an opinion.
I'm just thinking about his life in which we don't have the facts of, presumably.
Let's read this, Ian. Read the halacha from the beginning till the end. Read the halacha.
He was an adherent of the school of Shammai. However, only rarely is he recorded as following its teachings, and he always inclined towards leniency in the interpretation of those halachot of Shammai, which had not actually been put into practice.
Stop. If we stop over there, isn't that beautiful? He will always incline towards leniency in interpretation of halachot. That was his shtick. He was looking for leniency. Continue.
Often he decided in direct opposition to the followers of Shammai when they imposed restrictions of excessive severity. In his view, objective views are always the determinative criterion in reaching legal decisions. He consistently decides to the advantage of the priest and also encourages the performance of rituals in which the priest occupies the central role.
Remember, he didn't save just the learner Jews. He saved the I would call it the race of the Kohanim, of the high priest, intact. You see, we think about Jews as a family, and we think about Jews as okay, are we related? Are we Jewish or not Jewish? There is more than just not Jewish or Jewish. There is, are you a Kohen, or you're a Levi, or you're Yisrael? And that is a huge thing, especially when you have a temple that is functioning, that you got to rise, sign your name, and do your work. And he's the one that enrolled, and he was the high priest, and he's the one that put everyone in place. And he kept the secrets, and he passed over the hints and the secrets of the Kahuna to the next generation of exile, the first generation of exile. This is beautiful. Continue.
He was also the author of independent halachot, one being the wording of the blessing after drinking water.
Wow, I didn't know that.
The blessing recited at the Passover Seder.
Wait, we gotta see that. Blessing. Okay, which one? It doesn't say. Psachim 10. Until where does one recite Hallel? Beit Shammai says, until who makes a barren woman dwell in her house as a joyful mother of children. Hallelujah. And Beit Hillel says, until who turned the rock into a pool of water, the flint into the fountain of waters. And one concludes this section of Hallel with a blessing that refers to redemption. Rabbi Tarfon says that although one should recite, who redeemed us and redeemed us, and one would did the formula, bless you Lord, bless you Lord, bracha. One who did so would not conclude with a formula. Rabbi Akiva says one recites a different version. Let's see that in Hebrew. Okay, interesting. He added that Geula. Okay, next.
The majority of his rulings, however, deal with subjects discussed in the orders Nashim, Kadashim, Tahorot, and Nezikim.
What is missing? Wait, what is missing? You don't have any Shabbos, you don't have any Moyed, you don't have any time, anything to do with Yom Tov you don't have there. You don't have any things connected to the land, all the Zroim or the Balachot of Cheruma and things like that. He didn't deal with that. And he didn't deal, that's it, those two, because we have 6. Okay, continue in those.
In those found in Tahorot, his tendency is always towards severity, while in Nezikim are found his sayings on lost objects and usufruct. the payment of debts, the money due to a woman when she receives a bill of divorce, and damage caused by cattle. If he had belonged to the Sanhedrin, the death penalty would have been abolished.
Wow. I know.
Yeah.
That's it. He took out death. Who did that?
If
Stoning on Shabbos. 1 second. Stoning on Shabbat. And by the way, I have a guest speaker today. Today is the yahrzeit of the Bat Ain, big rabbi, and the Bat Ain is his grandson is my sister's husband. So he's gonna talk for 5 minutes, 4 or 5 minutes, and gonna talk about this person. And I'm gonna introduce him a second, but he speaks only Hebrew. So I'm gonna try to get him. I get it. Okay, but let's continue. Listen, I have my styles of shiurim, but especially when we're just 3 of us, I want to pamper you, as we say, with nice gems of these ideas. Okay, 1 second. Okay, let's call you now. Second. Okay.
Hello.
Hi, Shalom Uvracha. How are you doing? בסדר, אתה רוצה לספר לנו קצת, שומעים אותך פה הצדיקים מנורת'ווד, members from Northwood hear you, שומעים אותך, I'll talk in Hebrew and then I'll translate. ואז אנחנו רוצים לשמוע, שמענו על הבת עין, איך קוראים לבת עין? מה השם של הרב?
אז בואו אני אגדיר לכם בקצרה.
אוקיי.
לא מבינים אותי בעברית, נכון?
מה?
מבינים אותי בעברית?
לא מבינים, תדבר בעברית ואני אדבר באנגלית.
טוב, אז הבת עין, קראו לו רב אברהם דוב מהווריץ.
כן. The bat ain was named with Avram Avich, yes, okay. ומי הוא היה? Tell us a story about him.
הוא למד אצל רבי נחום מצ'רנוביל, שהיה תלמיד של המגיד ממזריץ', שהיה תלמיד של הבעל שם טוב.
עוד פעם, איך קראו לו? עוד פעם.
קראו לו רבי אברהם דוב מהווריץ, הוא למד אצל רבי נחום מצ'רנוביל, שלמד אצל המגיד ממזריץ', שלמד אצל הבעל שם טוב.
1 second. Bat Ain, the Avicii Rabbi. Let's see, 1 second. Okay, 1 second. Let me read it. אני קורא שנייה. Okay, 1 minute. The Rabbi Avram Dov was a Rebbe in Europe for 40 years in Safat. Before he had to be the disciple of Rabbi Yitzchak Leib Berditchev, Hasidic, the first 2 Rebbe Chernobyl dynasty, and one of the disciples of Okay, it was written in Europe, but he refused to allow it to be printed until it could expose into the air of the Holy Land. Only opened his book when he came to the Holy Land. His meeting with Sir Moshe Montefiore with 1840. So he met with Sir Moses Montefiore at the beginning of the modern Jewish agricultural settlement in Israel. It was in 1830, at the age of 65, that Rabbi Avram Dov Avricher settled in the holy city of Tzafat. But we have many years of opportunity to go to the land of Israel. One day he found that life was very difficult to bear in 1830s. Hardship was too important. The holiness was also very good. Then he felt that he could near burn no more, so he went and he returned to his home in Average, where it's been a Rebbe since 1785. And he said like this: I left my relatives and my students behind in order to live in the land, but it is to no avail, for that I'm suffering so bitterly. Let me return to Average. They will be happy to see me and I'll be glad as well. Okay, Yoni, so you are אתה הנכד שלהם, you're the grandson. בוא תספר לי עליו קצת איזה סיפור.
סליחה לחול. ככה, אני אספר סיפור קצר.
A small story.
שהוא היה גר בצפת.
You lived in Safat.
אז היה רעידת אדמה גדולה
It was an earthquake at that time. In Safat, you remember Lionel, right? Safat had the earthquakes. And thousands of thousands died.
וכל מי שעמד סביבו ניצל.
And whoever is standing next to him was saved.
ולמה?
Why?
בגלל שכל המהלך חיים שלו היה
All his life was, with his way of life, of living his life,
לדעת
to know that the person, the human being, is nothing towards God. So that's how he lived his life. What was special? So the special was that he was standing and nothing, no earthquake. Everyone that was next to him didn't die. But תגיד לנו עוד איזה סיפור, another story.
ובשעת רעידת אדמה
Yeah.
הוא נשכב על הרצפה בפיסוק ידיים ורגליים.
Okay.
זה הפוינט פה. ובעצם הוא הכניע את עצמו בענווה גמורה.
Okay, let me just summarize and then we'll finish. ואז תגיד ברכה, תן לנו ברכה. So just to say again, this rabbi was in the tzifat in that time. And then what he did, he just flagged on the floor and tried to save as much people he can. He believed in Hashem and he's saved. So within the earthquake, there was a small island that he was saved. That's what they said in the story. And it's talking about 1870, so it's probably documented. Anyway, Chazak U'Baruch, please give us a blessing.
אני רוצה לברך אותם שיזכו
That you should
להבין
understand
כמה האדם
how much a human being is only hanging on Hashem's trust, Hashem's word. תודה רבה, תזכה למצוות. Okay, thank you very much. Let's get back to just summarize what I think. I want to hear from you a little bit of feedback, but then we'll come back to Rabbi Tarfon. Lionel, what do you think about this?
About what?
Young guy in Israel has a family of 5 now, and he's the descendants of this rabbi. That today it is your site, and this rabbi he feels yichus. He feels that this guy is special.
Yeah, well, it was his grandfather, wasn't it?
It was his great grandfather, exactly. And you learn about families that have yichus. I am sure, and I'm 1,000% that Lionel and Ian, you both have yichus.
Well,
Has to be. There was a great man out there.
Well,
You are his descendant.
I personally don't know of any great man as an ancestor.
No, but not. It doesn't have to have a big beard.
No,
But
no.
it has to be, by definition, in the laws of history. And if you are survived now, has to be that one in the line did something that covered the next 20 generations.
All I can say personally, I don't know about Ian. I don't know. I don't know of him or her.
So I can tell you a secret. We were all the children of Abraham, Isaac.
Yeah, well, that is true. But I'm talking about a recent. Yeah.
A recent one. I can tell you miracles that this community.
Well, you have yichus.
No. I'm telling you, you are the yichus. Let's start like that. You guys are the yichus. People after you will look back and say, "Oh, my grandfather was so and so. He was learned. He came to the Shiurim. He had a thought. He fought for Torah. And here I am." 10 generations later thinking about, and remember, it's not like we don't have nothing. They will have this recording. And they will say, "Oh, grandpa, what did he do? Oh, interesting. Oh," and they will do a search word and they will know exactly what you mean because you're broadcasting it out there. And I think that's what's special about our community, that we are the first generation onwards. Two sides to it.
But yes, but you have something more special. A 13th generation rabbi that's what you call yichus. I don't know about Ian. If you have any great.
No, I cannot boast.
Moshe, come here. I'll tell you another thing.
Much to my regret, I can't go back far enough to satisfy my curiosity, let alone seek yichus.
Yeah.
Let me tell you something, Ian. Someone that went to Latvia, someone that went to Russia, someone who went inside to help the Jewish people, that's a story for decades. I have to be honest with you. You don't know what it is to be born in the post war. Like we're out of it. We're in a new generation. And when we see you, and you went the Second World War, post Second World War, just after, and helping those people and helping it's mind blowing. It's really as I said again, Holocaust.
I think
channels over.
Ian, I think the thing we may get such yichus from was when we were on the Soviet Jewry Committee. Yes.
Yes.
But to some extent, possibly historically, we had some little hand in precipitating the exodus of Russian Jewry to Israel, I suppose.
How many Jews had kosher food and tefillin and whatever and siddurim to pray because of you?
Well, we didn't. It was not the donations. I think
the books, the food.
I think we visited them. I think you did too, didn't you, Ian? I think.
I went to Vilnius. Yes,
you did. I went to Leningrad, but and we, Moscow, and we visited the refuseniks. So a very, if we look back in historical Jewish terms, probably that was something. You also, Ian, not me, but you, more particularly, had some slight hand in the creation of in not the creation of the state of Israel, but in the
the
consolidation of the state of Israel by reason of your Zionist activities. So
maybe I tell you what I find. I do like listening, Rabbi, to your talking about these rabbis, because it throws me back into a time when there were rabbis of such great intellect and such ability and such powers, that you think, well, look, this is the most wonderful thing, which maybe we do inherit just a little bit of it. And that is enough yichus for me.
You said it as a true writer, as we say. By the way, we have here a guest, but only the vocal. My sister is here, Sarah Batya. I know you know her, Lionel. And also,
hi everyone.
You have several sisters. I don't know.
This is the one that first of all has 5 like me children and 4 boys and 1 girl.
This is your elder sister.
No, this is the one.
I'm younger.
Beat me now. We're even.
Oh right. I thought the youngest had only just.
I just had a baby girl.
A baby girl, and it's 4 boys and a girl now.
Mazel tov. I thought the youngest was Shira.
She got engaged.
Yeah, but she was the youngest, isn't it?
Yeah.
My name is Sarah. Sarah Batya.
I'd have to see your face to remember you from amongst all your other sisters.
But it's dark.
Anyway, so let's go back a little bit to Rabbi Tarfon, and then I want to close up because we have to have the taste of Rabbi Tarfon at the end.
Go on.
Okay. 1 second. One minute.
Okay, the video is on.
So first of all, did you hear about Rabbi Tarfon?
I was looking at your sister. Yes, of course.
Hi, you remember me?
Yes, of course. Yes. Now I see you. Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, and you've had.
Baruch Hashem. I just had a baby.
You have 5 children in the meantime, or something like that.
At the time when I was in London, I had 3.
3. Ah, lovely.
2 boys.
So
now I have my boy. I want to add to what you were saying about yichus. I feel, especially also being with my brother, 13 generations, and also my grandfather from my mother's side, Rabbi Goldstein. I feel like for me as a mother, I feel that it gives me how do you say the mechayev?
It gives you responsibility or
obligation.
Demands.
Obligation is the word.
Obligations, meaning it's beautiful that we have yichus, but it gives my standard is higher, meaning I'm expected more in a way.
And you can also relax. You just gave a baby girl. You can relax.
I love your sister saying that.
Joy.
I love your sister saying that, because my not having any such great personalities, I feel I don't have the chiyuv, the obligation, as much as you all do. That's good. That's good. That's good.
Yeah, so it gives an obligation, and Baruch Hashem, it's an honor.
Yeah,
It's
it
an
is.
honor to be part of it and to continue
Yeah.
the generations now with all the new kids coming on to
Baruch
continue
Hashem.
the way of Hashem. Baruch Hashem.
You should know Sarabatya, even though she's very, very religious, she's very modern thinking, and she says her own thoughts of the Torah, and she gives shiurim, and she has her own thing. And you'll see her, she talks to everyone. And that's what's the balance. I'm not like her, but it's different, but she's very productive, and I really appreciate that.
That's great.
Thank you, Aaron. You're sweet.
Anyway, we'll go back to the shiur, and we'll finish Rabbi Tarfon. One more thing about Rabbi Tarfon I want to read. Sabata, can you read this for us, please?
Okay. In English? Okay.
Yes, I think so.
Yeah.
I hope I'll manage to do it bigger. It's small. On festivals and holy days, he has
Was accustomed
to delight his wife and children by preparing for them the finest fruits and
the entity. So he would prepare. He was rich, remember. But who prepared the Shabbos meal, Ian and Lionel and Sabatya? He would take it and would give them the best fruits with himself.
Alan, you remember that Grandpa used to do that?
Yes, he used to take the fruits and put them on the table nicely.
All the fruits and sweets on the table, L'chvot Shabbos.
Yeah, Grandpa used to do that. Correct. Continue, Sabatya.
When he wished to express approval of anyone, he would say, "A knob and a flower. You have spoken as beautifully as the adornments of candlesticks
in the temple. Woo! Nice.
But when it was necessary to unbraid another, he would say, "My son shall not go down with you."
Basically, I don't agree with you.
When he perceived that his two nephews, whom he was instructing personally careless,
becoming careless. Interpreted his lecture and regained the intention by saying, then again, Abraham took a wife.
And her name was Johanna.
Johanna, or maybe it's. No, these don't believe it's Ketorah. Okay, it doesn't matter. It's how do you call it?
Okay, we'll continue. Whereupon his people interrupted him by exclaiming, "No!
No Ketorah."
No Ketorah. His students include Rabbi Yehuda, Simon Zitzur, and Yuda ben Ishai ben Bosem.
Yitzchak
Abosem.
Okay, that we already read. That's it. I think that's enough. We know where we.
Alan, you should invite me to speak more often. I like this.
The next one is Rabbi. The next one is about Rabbi.
Rabbi. That's different to Rav? Is that Rav?
That was the president that wrote the Mishnah. He was the
author. You're talking about
Rabbi Yehuda Nasi.
The Nasi, yes. Okay. You call him Rabbi, do you?
We call him Rabbi.
Okay.
Rabbi. What's the chiddush of today? So, anyway, I'll say in my closing, and I'll say Tachlis, I enjoyed very much today because once again we met a new character, a different character, a character that dealt with a situation very differently, odd, different school, Shammai, and yet he was very modern thinking and very opening. Chazak Baruch, if there's any questions, love to hear.